that leads me to this statement. Jesus knows the future. He sees your next steps. You can trust him for specific guidance in your life, specific, detailed guidance in your life. Our God is not a God only of generalities and big brushstrokes. He is a God of fine detail. The God that made a fly's eyes is a God of detail. A God that made individual fingerprints on every of the 6 billion human beings on the planet today is a God of detail. The God who created you exactly with the DNA down to your exact personality and the way you look is a God of detail. The rods and the cones in your own eye, a God of detail. Do you trust in a God of detail? Do you know that he knows exactly what steps you will take today? Do you know that you can ask him moment by moment and day by day, Lord, what should I do? Jesus, speak into the situation for me. What should I say? You're having a conversation with someone and you don't know what to do. You can, in that moment, lift up a prayer to Jesus and say, Lord, give me the words to say. He can give you the words in your mouth. He can give you the thoughts in your mind. He can give you the steps for your feet, the actions for your hands, the tone of your voice, the set of your heart. He can do all of those intimate things. Do you trust him like that? Proverbs 16:9, I have it down here for you. It says, in his heart, a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. His steps. We like to plan the big strategic plan. God not only does the strategic planning, he's got the steps. The Lord wants to hold your hand and direct your steps. Proverbs 20:24 says, a man's steps are directed or ordered by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? We don't even understand our own way, except with the Lord's direction. Do you remember when your kids were first learning to walk? And you remember when, you could tell, I guess as a mom, the walking readiness, like talking readiness, and they're starting to pull themselves up on furniture and all that kind of stuff, And then when you figure out that they're ready to walk, what do? You grab their little hands and you start walking their little legs, right? And then pretty soon, when they're pretty well able to walk and not fall down too much, you let them go a little bit, a couple steps, and you say, come to me, all that stuff that you're going to do, or maybe grandchildren are there at that point. This is how I picture the relationship that I have with the Lord. He's my Father, and he's present, and he's holding on to my little daughter hands, and he's walking me step by step by step through my life. He's not saying, okay, you can walk on your own, go for it. Go down for the long pass. Now I'm going to throw it to you. Run like the wind. He's not abandoning you like that. He's walking with you step by step by step by step. Is your relationship with Jesus like that? Do you walk with him step by step? Do you ask him to enter in? Do you invite him into the place where he most longs to be in the intimate details of your life? So then here's the question I want you to write down and consider from this section of Mark chapter 11. Are you seeking Jesus' direction step by step? Are you seeking his direction step by step? And do you trust him in the small details of your life? Do you trust him in the small details of your life? I think this is one of the ways that God proves himself to be the God of the universe. The infinite God who is infinitesimal in his detail. Are you seeking Jesus' direction step by step? And do you trust him in the small details of your life? Are you walking with him like a dad with a little kid, saying, Daddy, hold my hand. Walk with me step by step. I don't want to go one step out of what you want for me. What are some details that you're facing today? What are some conversations coming up soon? What are some things and activities and relationships that need detailed instruction? And will you make a decision today and ask yourself, what prevents me from asking Jesus to give me direct guidance? Moment by moment direction. Most people, I think, as Christians, we are so not used to that way of living, we don't even ask for that anymore. We think that's reserved for some holy people from the Old Testament, or some missionary who's really serving God. Then God really speaks to them, and I'm telling you that is not true. God will speak to you. God will speak to you through His Word. God will speak to you through circumstances. God will speak to you by His Spirit. God will speak to you through other people. God will direct your life. He can use a song on the radio, for heaven's sakes. But our ears must be tuned to Him. We must be asking Him. We must be seeking Him. We must be looking for it. Our eyes have got to be peeled. Our hearts have got to be tuned. We've got to say, God, show me, lead me, guide me. Are you doing that? Are you in the set of your heart where you say, God, you are in the intimate details of my life, and I'm going to trust you there. And you know what's interesting? When you have Jesus in the details of your life, then the big things in the future, you know what? Once you get there, they're ready. But we do it so backwards. We always get stuck on the big thing. What is God going to do with that huge mountain of problem? And we forget that we live life in the small details, the dailiness of the Christian experience. That Jesus proves Himself there, and He shows Himself there. And He's the Messiah there, and the King of Kings there. You know, it's interesting, the triumphal entry, they welcome Him into the city. Have you welcomed this detail-oriented God into the city of your heart? Have you thrown down the palm branches of your life and said, welcome, Lord Jesus, into the nitty-gritty details of who I am? That's what He desires. That's what He wanted then, and that's what He desires today. He will do it in the details of your life. That all happened on Sunday. Now we go to Monday, the next day of Passion Week. We're just going to go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Tuesday continues through chapter 13. That happened on Sunday and now on Monday, Mark 11, 12 through 26. Jesus does this interesting thing. He curses a fig tree for not being fruitful in its non-fruit-bearing season. Love to be a fly on the wall in your small groups for that discussion. And then He goes in to cleanse the temple of all the money changers, and He overturns tables, and it's Jesus having what many scholars say is a temper tantrum. He flips out. And, Jesus isn't flipping out. He has a holy, righteous, and zealous anger for what Israel has become. He makes this important statement. He says, this house should be a house of prayer for all nations, and you have made it a den of thieves and robbers. You have gone away from your purpose. You have set aside what Israel was supposed to be. Israel was supposed to be a place and a nation that drew the other nations to it to worship. That's why I said this temple, this place where you worship, is supposed to draw people like a magnet, a house of prayer for all nations, meaning Gentiles. But what was the condition when Jesus got there in the flesh at this time? They had muddied it up with all of their rules and regulations, and women could only go so far, and other people could. It wasn't a house of prayer for all nations. It was hardly even a house of prayer for the Jews themselves. And Jesus was sick of it. He was sick to death of it. And so that's why in His zealousness, He's talking about what does it look like to be a people who are purified in their purpose and bold for God. And He does a bold thing when He curses that fig tree. He says, may no one ever eat from you again. And they go back a day or a morning later after that time, and the fig tree is all shriveled. And Peter looks at me and goes, oh my gosh, Lord, look what you did. You shriveled that fig tree. And then Jesus says in verse 22, have faith in God, Jesus answered. Truly I tell you, if you say to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and do not doubt in your heart, but believe that what you say will happen, it will be done for you.